Good evening to all the day nights around the world. It's Thursday, September 26th. This is Day Night Daily number 635, where we learn to be a better gamer. I got my special Augustus donut on it. Had a good day. It was very good. Did a bunch of the juicy work on Project Atlas. Watched some particularly juicy episodes of Attack on Titan. Oh, that's literally what I'm going to do the second the stream goes off. And of course, prepared for today's daily, which is going to be a little unusual than what I've been doing as of late. Looked back at the last few dailies, have been pretty in-depth, focusing on one player and that sort of thing. We have two 40-minute amazing Terran vs. Zerg games, and I was trying to think of how to approach going into which one and how to do it, and I said, screw it, I want to do both. So this is going to be very conceptual, very much about army movements and positioning and decisions that are made on that, and much less about what I've been doing of late, which is timings and build orders and those sorts of things. And going through particularly extensive logic about why doing certain compositional switches. Damn it, they build frickin' Biomine versus Ling, Baneling, Mutalisk. Therefore, allow me to be succinct. We're going to watch two amazing 40 and 50-minute games between Curious and Innovation, where we will see all the wonderful techniques that can and should be used in the late game to secure more expansions, to continue progressing forward, and to continue messing with our opponent once all the usual tricks have been depleted. And we'll talk more about that when we go into the game. Tomorrow I'm going to be finishing up Half-Life 3. I'm going to be finishing up Half-Life 2 tomorrow. The second one. And I'm going to try to get a gauge of how much longer is left. I may very well want to be playing a little GTA 5 then, but if I'm going to be just starting GTA 5 and then abandoning it, I might not do it then. More news on that literally tomorrow. And then Monday, Fun Day Monday. Give me the closest 2v2 game of all time. Monday at day9.tv. Ship it in. Next week, by the way, is the closest 3v3 of all time. And the week after that is the closest 4v4 of all time. So just keep playing team games and being close. Let's hop into this game. So to emphasize, nothing is really going to be going into too much detail in the start of the game. You should know the usual look by now. And if you don't, welcome to the StarCraft community. It's wonderful to have you. Oh, how thrilling. We'll do a brief review of what's up. No timings whatsoever. And we're going to be hitting a point where I say the usual bag of tricks depletes. So, for instance, there's a nice little aggression timing where Terran is trying to mess with the Zerg's fourth to prevent the numbers from getting too high, or where the Zerg might try to do an all-in before the barracks are up. These are all timing-based attacks. None of those are going to be the focus of today's show. It's all going to be about when everyone gets to do what they want to do, where does your edge lie? And it's going to lie in the big expanding patterns and the attacking patterns and how those all relate. So first and foremost, what the heck is Terran going to do? He's going to be doing some space control with the Reaper, and then going straight into Hellions for Contain. He'll be then getting double upgrades to churn out massive amounts of Biomine. Marine Mine Medevac. And occasionally the 4th M Marauder appears, should there be corresponding armored threats from Curious. Curious is going to be going for Ling, Mutalisk, Baneling. Now, normally in a daily, this is where I would be burbling on and on about, when's a good time to get a queen, and this, that, and the other. When do the gas geysers go down? And why? And for what reason? But you should all kind of have this look embedded in your mind. This is just how this game opens up. You guys, this is just how this rolls. I'm totally serial. Super serial. Little Zergling attacks like that are cheeky and beyond the scope of this daily. Let's get to the good parts. Let's get to the real juicy juice. Just want you to have at least some underpinning as to what the hell's going on. I don't want you to begin the game midway through. We see some contain, we see the nice infrastructure being developed, the big juicy 1-1-ups, the creep spread, the corresponding 1-1-ups. One of my favorite little things to note, though, Pneumatized Carapace pops out quite early from Curious, and in fact sometimes he gets it even before his lair is constructed. Loves that Overlord speed very early. Actually, it did get started just before the layer was begun. Very important upgrade. Alright, cool. So quite generally, right around this point in time, we would have the struggle of how to secure ourselves a 4th base as the Zerg player. And this is what this Terran timing push so beautifully exploits. This is a timing-based attack trying to hit as a vulnerable 4th basing Zerg is just barely getting his feet wet to try to hurt him there. Curious already has the necessary artifacts up. Speeding it up, speeding it up, speeding it up, speeding it up. Now, I've been talking a lot about the generals of what these build orders are. We see the 3rd base. This is where I want to pause at 12 minutes. I think he just started. Oh, yes, perfect. Thank God, Notes. God bless you, Notes. Here is our setup. This is the story that I want to begin telling. It begins with a photo. This gorgeous minimap. Oh, yes. And the question, what the fuck now? What do we do? A lot of this comes down to identifying where the key vulnerabilities are, all based around expansions. On this map, very, very impossible not to get 4 bases up. This is going to be pretty straightforward. Same with Terran, getting 4 bases up. I'm kind of boxing 3 right now, but let's go ahead and extend that down. Yeah, 4. 4 is really easy to take, but where does the 5th base lie? We start to see that this is kind of a 5th base, but it doesn't have a clear defensive area. On the 4 base front, this region that I've just highlighted, that is really where the good stuff happens in the defense. We can just put stuff here and blast on down the front, but when we're here, we have to worry about this attack angle, we have to worry about sweeping up and surrounding that, we have to worry about these sorts of things. So in other words, there's no good defensive positioning for this base. Similarly for Zerg, there's no real good defensive positioning for this base. We can't just park units in the same way that these units parked here kind of implicitly defend this. So from the Terran point of view, Terran is going to need to coordinate aggression by moving his army down and expanding on the backside. Or if Terran elects to expand up here, he's going to need to be doing more cuts up this way to take that. You could be very aggressive down southward like this while taking this base, but that can only be done if a planetary fortress is en route. And you have barely enough time to get there, and all the vision's cleared out. Zerg, on the other hand, is going to sort of be looking at where the Terran is focusing his efforts and just expanding elsewhere. In other words, Zerg wants Terran to come to me and then take the opposite corners. Because Lings are so fast and Banelings are so fast and Mutalisks are so fast, we can split ourselves up. Despite the fact that Terran is quite fast, they're not as fast as our Zergy buddies. Alright, nice. So we just want to note that these expansions, only real way to defend these properly is with good overall attack relationships. An attack to expand behind, an attack to distract to get up planetary fortresses to expand behind. Now, innovation is doing, I think, the most classic move. When we start to get money on 3 base, find more ways to spend that money. Don't do this gradual series of command centers. Just slam the factories out, slam the Marines out, massive A pressings, and so on and so forth. This moment right now, we're seeing Curious slowly stockpile up some money. We see a beautiful example of exactly why counterattacking is tough against this force, because sometimes we run headlong into the scaries. But I've removed the production tab because, let's be honest, it's going to be Zerglings, Mutalisks, and Banelings. It's going to be Marines, Medevacs, and Mines. Upgrades are going to be coming out. And that's about it. So I don't really need the production as much anymore, at least to talk about what I want to talk about. So Curious is in this awkward position where, let's think about expansions. Can't really take this one because there's a whole army here. Can't really take this one down south because this is probably going to be a big zone of pressure and it's easy for us to get trapped off. We really kind of do want to take this top right base, and we'll be looking for opportunities to do as such. Very dangerous map to try to secure bases on. So right around now is actually a fantastic window to just doink and throw this down. Why is that, especially given this composition? Well, a biomine force, though very mobile, generally the mines burrow and it establishes the reinforce point. It establishes that this is where troops are going to be, and as a result, a line of troops will be heading to there. So if we know that the mines have been burrowed here, he especially can't unburrow due to the creep. This is very safe. What, if he sends units over there, then these all get islanded, and he loses a lot of mines. So that little juke back and forth just cost Curious that fight. Because this game is super unforgiving. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Let's actually just watch that again. I thought he had more units here. Yeah. So we see that, definitely didn't cost him the fight. I thought he had a lot more underneath there. But, I mean, either commit or don't commit, because if you try to do both in the same fight, bad things happen to you. Alright, now in terms of control, just in the brief sort of stuff, I talked about this in Scarlet versus Bomber a little ways ago. Bringing only a couple Banelings. 4 Banelings are going to accomplish all the things that 12 Banelings would accomplish, so rolling them in little bursts, and then rolling a couple more in little bursts. Curious is just really, really good here. Now is the time that I think is absolutely critical to be taking this base. Terran can't send a small pack of Marines here, can easily be swept up. If they lose this force, then this force is also guaranteed to go down. Very hard for Terran to do anything but just continue to commit here. This was of slight concern for Curious in this game. He's doing a good job picking things off. But the most notable thing is that from the Terran side of things, what is this attack accomplishing for innovations expanding? Well, what's very nice is that when we begin to get a lockdown on position, let me just begin right here. Here's 14 minutes. Here's 2 minutes ago. Here's Innovation's force. I mean, he moves up here to try to deny some creep spread. And this is a very clever little play. It's not as obvious, but I still think it's one of the sweetest things ever. Innovation is going to attack here. He's just gonna. What is his other place of attack? This one? Where he invites being surrounded and he has to go all the way back here or up here, and whichever one he chooses to go to, he's cutting off his reinforced path? No. It's here, alright? Like, of his 2 options, this is far and away the better one. So, why move all the way up here? If Innovation is attacking down here, if he's attacking down here, then the creep spread gets all the way up here, locking up these expansions for Curious later. So he just pokes his way up here to clear the creep out. We see a little creep clearing going on, full well knowing he's going to cut all the way down here. If he's here, you know what's really good to do with a really solid position? Expand behind it. Now this is still in the realm of like a thing that Terran players do as part of a build. Most Terran players are just like, yep, got my 8 barracks up, time to build a command center. But many Terran players still mess up the army placement in this relationship. Look at this beautiful placement by Innovation. Absolutely love this. That little Jukaduke, not doing so good, but that's fine. Curious does just a wonderful job at deflecting this as much as possible. So we see that really with the first big push that Innovation's making this game, the expand behind is sort of the key feature. And in fact, the denial of future 5th bases and creep by where this critical next base could be has been abated. Again, the production tab shows nothing that you wouldn't already know about. Here's that micro moment that I was talking a little bit about. But of course, the biggest gain of this long, gradually unfolding attack is this base. And of course, the time that it takes to get that up and established. So, I am honestly a pretty big fan of the extra macro hatches. This is pretty kick-ass. I love Zerglings in this matchup, especially if you have the 4th base economy. The double macro hatch is so juicy. Getting 80 drones, love it. However, still, this expansion is absolutely available and safe to take in this circumstance. Now, you'll pretty clearly hear me not talking about the micro, mainly focusing on the expansions and this sort of thing. But we can see exactly why this expansion up here, this 5th base expansion up here is so safe. Look at this formation. One of two things is going to happen. Either Terran's going to break through this base and kill it off and get a huge gain, or Zerg is eventually going to hold it off. So with that in mind, we can see, oh, well gosh, if Terran tried to commit forces up here, this would have been broken earlier, and then Zerg does this maneuver, cutting all the way back to the front, like this, cut up there, and then pulling back. If this expansion was under a little bit of threat, and Zerg killed this off, Zerg should still push back and then cut this off. He just slices up the whole map. So, usual things, Infestation Pit going down. Curious didn't take this expansion, which is super critical. Really great to get that for the late game. It's not super necessary now, but still wanted to point out where the windows are to be able to do that. We're going to start seeing a lot more sweet stuff going on. So this is generally, I would just call this kind of a funky spot to be in this matchup. Terran players' push has halted. Almost always it's a non-stop push. Zerg has complete map control. Doink. And the Mutalisks actually get to do some good work. So first we see this push coming in from the Zerg. There's 3 reasons why this is good. For one, we hit this 3rd base, and the main is vulnerable. So we're sort of threatening 2 bases with once here. The second big reason is that this expansion is coming up behind us. And I said 3, and I don't know why. It's really those 2. This expansion is defended. Again, we see the relationship between this. If we were to expand here, and an attack would appear, we just pull these Mutalisks back. Really cool move by Innovation to pull all his mines back, not to go into blunt mindless mode, but to really truly understand that his push opportunity is gone, and to understand that, you know, putting the Widow mines at the most vulnerable location is really significant. But of course, Curious ate it in the face. But still, the hatchery is in good condition. It's safe. That was really the big gain. So this is more smart stuff by Innovation. He sees the Mutalisks up here, so what does he do? He's going to scoop up, he's just going to be kind of pushing things up to this side. Slowly sort of sweeping things along. Still, generally, this is going to be the best assault point. And we see just an absolutely beautiful cut from Innovation. Moving his whole army here, and having just a few stragglers branch off, and then pulling back. Not trying to do the over-committal of 2 places at once. And this is just some increasingly sick stuff. Rarely ever do we actually see 5th base versus 4 base in this matchup. It's pretty rare. But Curious is well aware of what the big threat angles are. Puts the Banelings there, the Burrow Banelings, that do good stuff. So slick. And I actually want to come to the Curious cam at this point in time, so we can really see and sort of appreciate everything the Curious is laying down. Once again, we see why on earth would Innovation be pushing this location? Well, it's probably the best one for him, just because it protects all these back ones, but it also sets him up to take a base, or excuse me, a base over here, should he want to. The other alternative is to begin pushing up to this side and to take a base here. Generally speaking, Terran is expanding close to their line of attack, while Zerg, the faster race, is expanding away. Alright, we're going to speed this up. Slowly chipping away. Doesn't seem to be doing much, especially with these spine crawlers. Kind of actually unbelievable how good the spine crawlers are. And we see, yet again, why this top base is really hard to hit with this strike point. We can apply a bunch of pressure here, but if we try to do these small break-off forces, it becomes very difficult. We can see pretty clearly precisely why Innovation tried to reduce the creep spread up to this side, because look at how difficult of a target it is anyways. That was so good. So I was watching this and I was like, oh my gosh, Innovation he's crumbling, man. He's getting smacked on. Curious is playing this out so well, so brilliantly. So what's the new plan of attack for Innovation? Okay, great. Why is this suddenly an okay angle of attack? Because this planetary fortress has already been established. That's one of the biggest reasons. The other very significant one is that we have detected his Mutalisks to be on the other side of the map. In other words, if we draw a line in between our, if we draw a line across our army and look at where our expansions are on the backside, the Mutalisks are on the other side of that line. If they're on the same side, it's time to go passive mode. So we yet again see kind of a loss for Innovation. He's still trying to regroup and all that good stuff. But of course, this expansion we're going to see. How does Innovation pull this one off? We saw that this planetary fortress was down, helping to make sure that this base was okay. But now that there's a command center moving down here, the whole army is going to move south as well. And I love that coordination. That coordination's so good. Dropping on the south side's fine. Just trying to keep the Mutalisks sort of scooped away and on the opposite side of things. When this happens, this is when you know things went really wrong. When the Zerg player has pierced through and done this amount of damage. So you can kind of see, I don't want to do too much rewinding because we do need to get through this in one other game. From the Zerg side of things, Zerg is trying to stabilize just enough so that these attacks can't get enough traction to permit additional expansions. It's not just killing off additional expansions. It's doing these sorts of moments where it's like, okay, I got this base covered up here. I have some spines down here. I got this base basically covered down here. I can buy all the time I need now. And yeah, the Mutalisks are going to be a really great tool right now. Also tiny little groups of Zerglings, but I'm not as big a fan as trying to get the Mutalisks over. Why is that? Because small groups of Zerglings will never force a full army repositioning like this. When this sort of thing happens, it even opens up an opportunity to take a 6th base like this. Because now Innovation is going to be doing the scramble. So likewise, Innovation, sort of interestingly, the first place Innovation cuts is not here, the closest spot to the Mutalisk. He tries to cut here to prevent more movement up, to try to box these Mutalisks back. You see, oh, so much time being bought for this, time being bought for the Ultralisks. Really nice moves from Curious, and the sort of slow push from Innovation back. Very hard to have done much in the Terran spot, other than just sort of control and shove. And what's nice about gaining that kind of map control during that moment is it provides the opportunity for all sorts of burrowed banelings to get planted down. I think a couple wind up over here and that sort of thing. Yeah, there we go. Ooh, this turns out so juicy. Ooh. Okay, so we have a Mega Death Army for Innovation, expanding nearby the Mega Death Army. When did the first move out happen? When this base was planetary fortressed all the way up. And again, it was Planetary Fortress. Look at everything's holding back, holding steady, and then the instant it's about to be done, alright, look, all these units already on the move to get up there. Oh my god, yes. Oh, yes. Okay, we're not doing anything until we get to the big moment. Yeah, we are. This is a perfectly fine place to stop. Oh, that's not the one button. Yeah, so we've seen, especially from the Terran side of things, is where these expansion opportunities arise as a result of our army placement. And a lot of our additional funds are actually going into defending those bases. We do have 10 barracks up. If we actually come in here, we see that normally most Terran players are at 8 barracks and 2 factories on 3 bases. This is the normal look. So a very reasonable question is, what happens when you get base 4 and base 5? Whoa! Not that much gets added on. 3 more production structures. A factory, a barracks, and another barracks. A lot of the funds are going to these turrets. And to continued upgrades, the high-sec auto-tracking, the structure armor. Really cool, really slick. Alright, when we come back in part 2, we're going to continue to see how this late game action sort of unfolds. We're going to be talking a little more from the Zerg point of view because Zerg does some great moves then. Stay tuned.